Russia, a country shrouded in legends, enigmas and vast untamed lands. When we think of Russia, many imagine the streets of Moscow, majestic St. Petersburg, or perhaps the Ural Mountains. But what do you really know about the most remote corners of this gigantic country? Today, I will take you to one of those places. A place so inhospitable and mysterious that few people know about it, and even fewer dare to visit it. I am talking about Chukotka. A remote, wild and extremely cold territory. But do you think it is a good place to live? Now, let's delve into a little-known aspect of life in Chukotka, something that seems straight out of an Arctic legend. Imagine a place so remote and isolated that traditional social rules begin to fade away in the Arctic fog. In some Chukotka communities, due to extreme isolation and living conditions, customs have taken somewhat unusual paths. Here, childbearing becomes a communal matter, an act of survival in which women do not belong to one man alone, but the norms of sharing extend beyond the conventional. Mysterious, isn't it? In these communities, the continuity of life is a priority, and maintaining the population is crucial. So when it comes to bringing new children into the world, it is not uncommon for one man's wife to also be a part of another man's life. The idea is simple: the more opportunities to procreate, the better for the community. So, instead of jealousy and restrictions, cooperation and community spirit reign here. But make no mistake, this is not as simple as it seems. It is all guided by a deep sense of respect and tradition. Women in Chukotka are seen as the heart of the community, and their role in procreation is celebrated and protected, all within the boundaries of their culture and customs. It is a different way of looking at life, where togetherness and survival are above the social conventions we are used to. So in Chukotka, extreme cold not only shapes the land, but also the rules of love and family. And who knows, maybe there is something to learn from this unique and mysterious community approach. Imagine a place where the cold is so extreme that when someone dies in winter, the body must be kept frozen for months until the ground thaws enough in summer for burial. That's how unforgiving life is in Chukotka. Get ready to discover the secrets that Chukotka holds and why it may be one of the least habitable places on the planet. To understand Chukotka, we must first understand the country that contains it, Russia. Located in Eurasia, Russia is the largest country in the world, covering an area of over 17 million square kilometers. It is so vast that it spans 11 time zones, from Eastern Europe to the Pacific Ocean. Its population is approximately 146 million people, and the official language is Russian, although there are over 100 minority languages spoken throughout the country. The currency is the Russian ruble. But not all regions of Russia are created equal. While cities like Moscow and St. Petersburg offer modern amenities and vibrant cultural centers, there are places in Russia where life is completely different, much harsher. One such place is Chukotka, located in the far northeast of the country, facing the Bering Strait and Alaska. This remote territory covers an area of over 720,000 square kilometers, but only has around 50,000 inhabitants. Imagine that, over 500,000 square kilometers of land, with fewer people than a small European city. What makes living in Chukotka so difficult? First, let's talk about the weather. This place is synonymous with extreme cold. For much of the year, temperatures in this region remain well below 0 degrees Celsius. In winter, thermometers can reach temperatures of -50 degrees Celsius or even lower. The days are short, the wind is relentless, and snowstorms can paralyze the region for weeks. Imagine living in a place where the cold cuts through your skin, where going outside becomes a dangerous adventure. In addition, infrastructure in Chukotka is minimal. Roads are scarce and often impassable. The main means of transport between villages is by plane or sled. To top it off, energy is a precious and expensive commodity. Heating in these places is essential for survival, but it is not always reliable. The isolation is so great that in some villages, basic supplies, such as food, arrive only once a month. The role of the government and the disinterest in the region. But how does the Russian government handle this challenging region? The reality is that Chukotka, although part of the Russian Federation, often seems to be forgotten. While there are some supportive policies, the truth is that the central government's priority is not to improve the quality of life in this remote territory. Access to resources is limited, and many of the inhabitants rely on subsidies and assistance programs to survive. Remoteness and lack of resources mean that tourism is virtually non-existent. In fact, Chukotka is not a tourist destination at all. Harsh living conditions, coupled with a lack of proper infrastructure, make it extremely difficult for foreigners to get here, let alone enjoy what the region has to offer. Before we continue, if you're fascinated by this exploration of the most inhospitable parts of Russia, make sure to subscribe to our channel and turn on notifications so you don't miss our future videos about the most mysterious places in the world. Thank you. Culture and Russian women from Chukotka. Despite the harsh conditions, life in Chukotka goes on, sustained by a unique and resilient culture. This region is home to diverse indigenous peoples, including the Chukchi, Eskimo and Evenki. Each of these peoples has their own language, traditions and customs, making the region a melting pot of cultures that have learned to adapt to the extreme conditions of the Arctic. Women in Chukotka, as in other parts of Russia, play a key role in family and community life. However, their reality is very different from that of women in large Russian cities. Here, women are used to facing the adversities of an extreme climate and leading a hard life. But what does it mean to be a woman in a place like this? It means living in a small community, where options are limited. It means enduring extreme cold, a lack of basic services and a constant feeling of isolation. Employment opportunities are scarce, and are often limited to hunting, fishing and gathering natural resources. Food and traditions in the far north. As for food, the diet in Chukotka is directly influenced by the environment. Hunting and fishing are the main sources of livelihood. Common foods include reindeer meat, seals and Arctic fish. Consumption of fresh produce is almost non-existent due to the climate and lack of transport to import food. Here, people rely heavily on the resources that nature provides, and preservation techniques such as smoking and drying are essential to survive the winter. Traditions also play an important role in the lives of Chukotka residents. Many rituals and customs are related to nature and the cycles of life in the Arctic. Dances, songs and festivals are occasions for the community to come together and keep their cultural heritage alive. Despite the extreme conditions, Chukotka is home to stunning nature. Arctic tundra and mountains dominate the landscape, creating an environment of raw, wild beauty. The region's wildlife includes polar bears, wolves, reindeer, Arctic foxes and a wide variety of migratory birds. However, the balance between humans and nature here is delicate. The inhabitants must hunt to survive, but they also deeply respect the animals that enable them to survive. Life in this environment is a constant struggle for survival. Every winter is a test of endurance, and every summer, an opportunity to prepare for the next. Communities depend on nature, and nature, in turn, imposes its own unbreakable rules. Religion in Chukotka is a mixture of traditional beliefs and the influence of Orthodox Christianity, which came to the region with Russian settlers. However, many indigenous religious practices persist, especially among native peoples. Shamanism and beliefs in nature spirits are central to many communities. Shamans, considered intermediaries between the world of the living and the spirits, still play an important role in the spiritual life of Chukotka's inhabitants. Traditional beliefs are deeply connected to nature and the cycles of life. For many in Chukotka, survival in this extreme environment is not just a physical matter, but also a spiritual one. As the world faces the challenges of climate change and globalization, Chukotka is no exception. Global warming is affecting the region's ice sheets and ecosystems, threatening its inhabitants' traditional way of life. In addition, the lack of resources and opportunities causes many young people from Chukotka to emigrate to other parts of Russia in search of a better life, leaving behind a land that, although it is their home, no longer offers them a promising future. So why is Chukotka not a good place to live? Extreme weather, isolation, lack of resources and harsh living conditions make this territory one of the most inhospitable places on the planet. Yet those who call Chukotka home do so with pride and resilience. It's a place where nature dictates the rules, and humans can only adapt. If this video has made you think about life in one of the toughest places in the world, don't forget to subscribe, like and share it with your friends. And remember, the world is full of mysteries, and we are here to unravel them.